Another episode of Millionaires Are Made. I actually believe this is our 50th, maybe 51st episode. I don't know, but we're getting there. Somewhere around there. Um, if you haven't been watching, you've missed out on 49 amazing episodes beforehand, but you've got the best one coming up right now. Millionaires Are Made is a show where we believe that you can grow and be a millionaire in all 6 aspects of your health. It's not just about financial health and being rich, but also about your physical health, your mental health, your social health, your intellectual health, and today's episode, your spiritual health, one of the most overlooked aspects of health, I believe. Millionaires Are Made is a show built on the fundamental belief that every person you meet knows something you don't, and that there's something that can be learned from everybody. Even you watching this right now has something you can share. And in the spirit of authenticity and to remove as much host bias as possible, I don't even meet or know who my guests are until about 15 minutes before the show, and we go over the schedule of the show. We don't even talk about our tips until we get live, so you will see raw, authentic tips from 3 different guests from 3 different walks of life, and hopefully you can learn and grow from at least one of them, if not all of them. Audience, you have a task. Please, if you have thoughts and questions and comments, put them in our chats. We read them live, we monitor it, and we'll answer your questions on air. We'll give them a little bit of a hot seat. But please feel free to get engaged. We love hearing from you. It makes the show so much more fun when you guys are asking questions that you care about. If you have your own podcast as well, please consider these awesome guests here. We'd love to be there. I love being a podcast host too. There's nothing better than sharing information. The whole point of this show is teaching and learning and growing. So we'd love to get on your podcast and share it. Feel free to contact us anywhere you want. Millionairesaremade.com is our website, but we also have all our Google and stuff. You can find our links. We're all available if you need a podcast guest. Speaking of guests, oh boy, we need 6 guests every week. We love guests. Please sign up. If you have anything to share, if you have any sort of knowledge, which I already know that you do, we'd love to have you on the show. Come join us, share your piece of info, and help the world grow to a stronger, better place. On that note, if you have a topic that we haven't covered or have covered that you need a little more help on, let us know. We will do all the hard work, find 3 guests that have some expertise in that topic, throw an entire show just for you to learn and grow a little bit on that topic in one of our health aspects. And yeah, cool, great. Now's the fun time. This episode has a couple sponsors. Thank goodness for them because they help the show keep going. Today we've got a few. We've got Reboot by John. Meet Charles W. Smith, a multi-award-winning entrepreneur, published author, and dynamic motivational speaker. With his awesomely powerful message, Reboot My Way of Thinking. He provides invaluable tools for gaining clarity on identity and empowerment. Empowerment's going to be a theme with this. Connect with him at the link that's being shared right now and start your transformative journey today. Super awesome. Charles Smith is a great guy. Go at least follow him on Insta and Facebook and check him out. And for the female side, we have our rock solid women's empowerment coaching. Bonnie Hardy is an amazing coach. She lives in Atlanta. She specializes in mindset, gratitude, and personal development. She offers a really unique approach, combining vision boards with her wheel of life. She also manages the Airbnb property that she coaches out of. So it's a cool week experience. Go check her out. Her link's being shared right below as well. And we have the Gunther's Adventures. My buddy Joe, this is an awesome one. He is a huge off-roader, likes to do crazy, unique upgrades to his car. Gunther's Adventures is a one-stop shop for adventure, inspiration, and cleverly designed Toyota upgrades. Whether you're a seasoned overlander or just a weekend warrior, Gunther's will help you push your Toyota further. Link being dropped below. Go watch him, check him out. He has crazy videos. I don't know. I've been in his car before. It gets a little scary. He's a crazy off-road 4-wheel driver. And without further ado, if you like what we do, please like us, share, subscribe. All that fun stuff helps us keep going and growing and helps us share more info. The entire point of the show is to share, teach, and give all this information for free. If you like that, please connect with all of our guests. Please go like them and share them as well. If you do want to talk one-on-one, I do offer free coaching as part of my Teach the World initiative, whatever the fuck that means. The link's being dropped below. So if you want some one-on-one coaching with me, business is definitely my specialty, but I can coach just about anything or at least talk to you, give advice. I spend a lot of my life with experts like this on this show, so I learn quite a lot, or at least I can point you in the right direction. Today, we get to talk about goal setting and spiritual health. Interesting. I wonder what we're going to learn about here. Without further ado, let's go straight to our first guest, Diva. Diva, who are you?
Hello. Well, my name is Diva, and yes, it is my real name. I get asked that a lot, so I have to precursor that. And people ask, "Are you a diva?" Only when I need to. So I am a psychic medium and grief coach, and I help people through the most difficult time in their life. And I discovered this ability after going through my own, and it's an important path for me because I know what it's like to be stuck in that grief space and longing for the people we lose. So basically, I hold people's hand and I walk them through their journey, and I help them grow spiritually and find ways to connect spiritually so that they can move forward and find a new normal.
Awesome. Well, that sounds like a very important thing. I will tell you real quick, you should connect with a guy named Tony Lynch. We can talk after the show, but he's a grief counselor as well, and has a really cool podcast that you might love to be on.
Oh, wonderful.
But more importantly, if I wanted to improve my spiritual health with goal setting, what tiny piece of advice would you give me?
Well, here's the thing is so many people crave that connection but don't know how to start. And so here's my deepest, most what's the word I'm looking for? Powerful,
Profound
message. Just start connecting. People think that there has to be some sort of ritualistic thing about it, or that they need to do something specific. And here's the thing. Our spirituality, our connection to the universe, to source, to God, whatever people want to say, it's really just about taking that step and doing it. And it doesn't have to be, there's no ritual to it. I often say it's just like talking to a friend. And one of the biggest things that I get asked when I'm doing readings for people, what I get asked by their spirit teams, so our angel teams, we all have them, is to remember that they exist, to remember that they are there to help us, and to ask for help, because they can't interrupt with free will. So if we don't ask them to do things, we won't get the help. So it's the idea, or what everybody knows is prayer. It's the best way I can liken it to, is when we ask for help, it's only then that we receive. If we never ask, we never get. And so my tip is to just start asking for help, asking for guidance, asking for connection. And the moment we make that connection and put that out into the universe, those things start coming back to us, and we start finding the answers that we seek, or the guidance that we seek. So it's as simple as that. Just start asking.
I love it. Okay, you talked a little bit about this. We have about less than a minute left, but tell us about your journey that led you to this piece of advice.
Well, about 11 years ago, I lost my brother to suicide, and it was the most profound experience in my life. My world stopped, and I spent about 7 years struggling with PTSD and suicidal ideation, and there were multiple traumas back to back that, my grief became very complicated, very complex. And through all the journey of towards healing, it took about 7 years until there was a paradigm shift in my life. And I realized I did not want to keep following the same path I was. And I did anything and everything I could to heal. And so now in doing that and being able to thrive and not just survive, I'm able to help other people through that same low point in their life.
That is, I mean, sometimes, yeah, through through struggle comes strength. So that's good that it helped change your life. Like one of our audience members says she's very sorry to hear about your loss, Diva.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. And I just lost my grandmother on Saturday.
Oh boy.
And I see death differently than most people. And that's what I try to help people through, right? Death is not a finality. Death is an extension of our life. Our connection to our loved ones are still the same. They just look different.
Very true. Very true. Wow. Thank you so much for that, Diva. We are going to move on to our next guest, Polly. Polly,
Hey,
who are
I'm
you?
there. Do you know, I have to say that this makes me laugh because it just dawned on me the other day. When you go on something like a podcast or you're introducing yourself to somebody and they say, "Who are you?" and you just like, and then you try to put a fancy label on yourself. So I am I've just discovered this is a really simple way of doing it. I help people know who they are and what they do. Okay.
All right. I help people know who they are. That's great.
So I'm a business design mentor, but I don't use data to do it. I use energy and intuition to do it. So a lot of problem solving, but energy and intuition led. So I help people find out who they are, what they do, and then help them build a business that actually feels like them and is a reflection of them. So yeah, I help people know who they are and what they do.
That is awesome. That is awesome. They're very important, and I like the unique niche you have of going through intuition, spirituality. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So when you're doing businesses and building them and learning who you are, I'm sure there's a lot of goal setting. So let me ask you this. If I wanted to improve my spiritual health with goals and goal setting for myself, what tiny piece of advice would you give me?
Make sure your goals are yours. Now that sounds like kind of really obvious, but if you actually dig into it, most of what we think we want is what we've been told we want, not what we actually want. So, and it's I'm sure it's going to come up in this conversation, but actually really understanding who you are and what you want and what matters to you is the most important thing. So it actually takes a little bit of practice to cut behind all the stories. And all of the pressure that you might be put under to think that this is what I should be aiming for and this is what I want to get. And if you start setting goals that are not yours, then you are going to be very stressed. You're going to be very pressured, and you're going to feel pretty awful in the process.
Yeah, on that note, I mean, you may not even realize you're not making goals that aren't yours. I mean, society has its effects on you. Your family, your relationships, you may be almost making these goals with them in thought or doing goals that you think they want you to do. And so realizing that it's a goal just for you is probably a pretty tough first step.
Yeah, it is. Don't underestimate it. It's a big thing.
Nice. We got a comment saying that traveling, you got to set your goals. We'll talk about that later, though. Let's learn more about you and your life journey, how you learned that. We got about a minute left, so tell us everything you can. How you learned that tip.
I think when you get that thing of this is what your life is supposed to gets mapped out for you, doesn't it? You're supposed to have a career and you're supposed to progress in your career and you're supposed to earn more money and get promotions and all the rest of it. And you're just like, and that just. There was a point at which I just went, no, that's not my path. And so that's really where it started. But I see it every day. I see it every single day now. People who have adopted goals that aren't theirs. They're trying to push themselves to achieve something in their lives that they don't actually want. So
yes, that is so true. And we laugh about it, but it's
we're not really funny.
It's definitely not. And it's real. It happens all the time.
Yeah.
All the time. Awesome, Polly. Well, thank you so much. Our time is to move on to our next guest has come. We will bring you back out in just a couple minutes.
Yeah.
First, let's hear about Maria. Maria, who are you?
Hi, my name is Maria C. Palmer, And I'm the author of the book On the Rocks, which has hints of resiliency, love, and family. And I'm
Can we see the
also,
cover?
yeah, sure.
Yeah,
I'm
show it
also
to
a
us. Yeah, look at
nonprofit
that.
grant writer here right outside of New York City. And I work with people to help them obtain human self sufficiency. So basically, helping people not with a hand out, but a hand up in areas of basic needs.
Very cool. All right. Well, I'm sure as a grant writer, you've got a lot of goals. If I
Oh
wanted
my
to improve
gosh.
my spiritual health with goals and goal setting, what tiny, tiny tip would you give me?
I think first you need to evaluate where you are today, because in life there are so many roller coaster moments for us. So if you're really struggling with maybe even one of the topics that Diva or Polly had brought up and you feel like you're trudging through the quicksand, I would say just start small. Just set something that is obtainable, achievable. I've been so low at times in my mental health through my own personal story that just scheduling a time to eat and sleep was a big goal for me.
Yeah.
If
Okay.
you're looking to push yourself a little bit outside of your comfort zone, I would say find what it is that you are passionate about and build your goals out based upon that passion. And know that whenever you're achieving that particular passion, that you're going to get a lot of no's and that you're going to get a lot of rejections. But you have to be your biggest advocate in life. And, I always am rooting for the underdog. And I, in many points of my life, have been that underdog, but you have to be your greatest yes. And so that's what I would say is evaluate where you are in life. If you're really struggling, start very small so you can obtain something and feel like you're achieving it. If you want to push yourself, really think deeply about what your passion is and then go after that passion.
Awesome. I love it. Wow. Maria, tell us where on your life journey you learned this piece of advice.
Oh my gosh. So my world was really rocked whenever I was 20 years old. Not to get too much into my personal story, but my father was one of America's top 10 Italian restaurateurs, and we were at the top of our game. And then one day we weren't, and the federal government knocked on my door looking for my dad. And we went
Oh,
from the family that everybody looked up to that family that everybody was wondering what the heck happened to. And so my path to goal setting, to spirituality, comes from this deep sense of resiliency. What happens whenever we lose everything that we thought we had gained? And what lessons do we learn from that? And how do we trudge through that mud and that quicksand? And that is how I built my path to spiritual, emotional, and mental health recovery. And that's what I tell other people too. It's not the most intelligent person in the room that is going to be the most successful. It's the one that's the most resilient.
resilience. Yep. I agree with that. Awesome, Maria. Thank you so much.
Thank
We're ready
you.
to bring out some more of our guests. And let's talk, guys. Diva. Do you want to give us a quick refresher of your tip?
Yes, in order to nurture your spiritual health, just jump in and ask. Start asking, and ye shall receive.
Okay, Polly, what are your thoughts
Okay.
on that specific tip?
I Yeah, you've got to start somewhere. I think kind of we've all said that. You've got to start somewhere, start small, but start and make sure that it's something that you want, and I think we've all brilliantly giving different perspectives on the same thing. Yeah.
Mhm.
I agree with
I
that. Yeah. Maria, what are your thoughts on Diva's tip?
I think it's wonderful. I think, your mind is your most powerful attribute that you have. So if you can set your mind to something and you can be open to it, and we are our biggest limiters in life. There are things that I never thought I would ever be able to do, be on national media. That was a big lofty goal of mine, and I thought, yeah, there's no way. And I've been in Forbes magazine, LA Weekly, had the ability to even tell Hoda my story. And that doesn't happen by disbelief. That happens by realizing what it is that you want. So I agree with Diva, very much so.
Awesome. I love it. Polly, can you quickly refresh what your tip was?
So my tip was to make sure that the goals that you do set are yours, not somebody else's.
Awesome. Maria, you want to give us some thoughts on that?
100%. I also agree very much with Polly, because I do think, in this world, there's a path that people normally take to success, right? It may look very traditional. You go to school, you go to college, you get a job, you get married, you have kids. But if that's not your path, then that should not be the answer to your life. You have to seek whatever it is that life is seeking out of you. So I love that, you're taking away some of the norms that are put into you by society or by your family or by other things. I just think it's a great tip.
I love it. Diva, what are your thoughts on Polly's tip?
You know what? I think it's really powerful, and it's way more important because we are driven by societal norms or by societal mores, that we think that by this age we should be doing this, and by this age we should be doing that. And we totally lose sight of what intrinsically we desire in life. And then we get caught up in our lives that we've established based on these social mores, and we have forgotten ourselves. We've lost ourselves. How many times do we see people in their 30s and 40s and 50s going through these transitions because they've discovered they don't love their life, they don't love the career they chose? And most times it's because we haven't followed our own path. We've followed what other people have chosen for us or told us we should be doing.
That's so true. So true. Maria, can you quickly refresh what your tip was?
Yeah, so my tip is basically you need to evaluate where you are. And if you're struggling, you just start very small and something that's obtainable. If you want to push yourself, you find your passion and you build out your goals around that passion.
Nice. I like it. Polly, what are your thoughts on her tip?
I'm still reeling from something she said earlier on, which I'll come back to in a bit, because it was a brilliant quote.
Do it now. Let's go over that quote.
Seek out of life what life is seeking out of you. That's brilliant. And it's just like I had to write it down. I'm really sorry. But yeah, I know on this, absolutely. We all kind of want to feel that we're moving forwards, don't we? We always want to feel that we're making some progress. And when life is overwhelming, you are feeling incredibly stuck. But the thing is that when you start to move, that's when the snowball happens, and then you develop that momentum. But you've got to be brave enough to take that first step. And I think that for me is the really big thing. It's like having the courage to take that first step into the unknown. But yeah, it's you've got to, whatever that hurdle is for you. And as you said, it might be getting out of bed. Mm-hmm. And that's a great first step if that's what it is. And often we set ourselves really big, and they're so overwhelming. You say, I don't know where to start with all of that. Start with something that you can see, you can hold, and you know how to move with it.
Simple and easy, and get that snowball going. Diva, what are your thoughts on Maria's tip?
I think it's brilliant because we often have this desire to go from A to Z or Z, however he's saying. We often have this desire to make these big leaps, and we forget that baby steps are still steps. And as long as we're moving forward, even if it's inch by inch, it's still forward moving. And we forget to celebrate the small wins. We tend to think they have to be big and illustrious, and we forget that, like Polly said, If you just get out of bed today and that's been difficult for you, celebrate that win. That's an important win in your life. And we
Yeah.
tend to overlook those things.
I mean,
Because
especially with,
everyone should be able to do them, huh? Yeah, that's
Yeah,
that's what we think.
Yeah.
it can be sometimes hard and daunting. I mean, these little wins, we got to take them, because even on social media, you've got people getting married, degrees, promotions, all this shit's just fed into your life.
Yeah.
And, you know, just because they're having a big win right now doesn't mean it's necessarily your time. And you got to make sure you celebrate the little wins, because everyone has lots of little wins before their big win.
Yeah.
It's part of
I
putting
think
in the work.
we also head into dangerous territory with comparison. And when we look at social media and we see, oh, all these people are doing all these wonderful things, well, we have to remember all we see is the part they want us to see. We don't
Yep.
see the struggle. And we forget that other people have struggles as well. We just don't put those out on social media. So we have to be careful of the comparison we make to other people, because there's likely other things that they're dealing with that nobody knows.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I think you're so right, Diva. We all put our shiniest self out on social media. And
100%.
sometimes, you know, being true to that, and saying if you're struggling. You know, I recently just wrote a blog post about a very unexpected month of March where, yes, a ton of great stuff happened, but some really hard stuff happened to me too.
Mhm.
And I think it's important to be authentic about that, because not everything in life is going to be rainbows and butterflies. Life is really hard sometimes. And we have
I
to
also
acknowledge it.
find too that people around us they don't like seeing people in discomfort. We don't like, people to have to experience pain. But the thing is, pain is part of life, and the only way out is through. That was my mantra to get through my own, right? I had to keep saying to myself, the only way out is through. And so people try to make it better for you. Oh, well, focus on the positive.
Yeah.
Oh, focus on all the good things. Yeah, absolutely. We have to focus on gratitude and blessings, but we also have to acknowledge our pain. If we never acknowledge our grief or our pain, it will come back and bite us in the ass. It doesn't go anywhere. It just lies simmering while we focus on, whatever people are telling us to. So
Yeah.
sometimes we got to get deep down and dirty in order to get out of it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I very much agree. And, just to give a shout out to a friend of mine who wrote a book called Making Friends with Monsters, which is all about mental health healing and has, a lot of hints of how you move on from suicide and really, really challenging things. And one of the forefronts of her book is that in order to overcome things, you have to, in essence, be friends with your monsters, recognize your anxiety, not shy away from it, recognize that you might be feeling grief or that you might be in pain, and, hold that space, even though that's a hard thing to do.
Yeah.
And as we were all talking, it was something that just like really struck me is that the work that we do is all about moving through. I mean, you said it, Diva, didn't you? You said it, we're moving through, and our tendency is to sort of like smooth stuff over, bury it under, push it under the rug, whatever. And that really, on with spiritual goal setting, that is the thing. It is about being courageous enough to move through it. That means coming out of your comfort zone. It means coming at, going through some really difficult, messy stuff, knowing and trusting that there's something good on the other side of it.
Yeah.
And that good that's on the other side of it, you don't know what that is yet, and you don't know what it's going to look like, and you don't know what it's going to mean for your entire life, and you don't know what it's going to mean for your relationships. But on the other side of that is a blank slate almost. But you've got to move through it and be prepared to get really messy.
I say now that my brother's death saved my life, and people look at me like I'm from another planet. If you had said that I would say that 10 years ago when it happened, I would have looked at you the same way. But I couldn't see what gift was being given to me at that time. We can't. We never know, and we may never know until we get to the point where it's revealed. But I realize now all things happen for a reason. We are divinely guided, and my brother's death forced me to look at the undercurrent in our family and the dysfunction and the toxicity and all these things that we were trying to bury, and it forced me to face them. And I think if I hadn't had that opportunity, I could have ended the same way my brother did.
Wow. That's pretty powerful. I hate to move on from that note, but we are almost out of time and we still have one more task. Sometimes these episodes, I wish they were like 4 hours long, especially this one. This one, I feel like we could, you guys are killing it. It could go forever, but unfortunately, all the information we've given is over and that's it. Just kidding. But we've got to come up with our daily challenge, guys. So it's got to take less than 5 minutes, cost $0, and be available to anyone in the world from Kathmandu to London, England. In order to help build your spiritual health with goal setting, what thoughts and suggestions do you have?
I would say start asking for the things you desire. Put it out in the universe. Start today. Do it right now. And do it every day. Make it a consistent ritual, even though I hate using that word, and I said that at the beginning. Start making this is better. Start making it a daily practice.
Okay.
That's better.
So daily practice every day. We're gonna take like 30 seconds and make a goal. Like this is like a lifetime goal. Like, by the time I'm 80, I want 17 wives.
Visualize it. Visualize it. Get your mind seeing where that is and where you're going, and see yourself in it.
And verbalize it. Say it out loud, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Say it
I will be posting on social media and challenging you guys to join me. But I like that. I think that's a great idea. Long-term goals. Okay.
Okay, can I go before Diva's bit so that it adds on to it? Starts because my bit would be taking some time every day before you have your practice to listen to what's brewing inside of you. So so you listen to what's brewing inside of you, then you have to actually start asking for it.
So take a minute and listen to what's brewing. I like how you worded that.
Mm-hmm.
Listen to what's brewing, and then the second part of that is going to be
ask for it.
I almost want it to be like a crazy long-term goal, right? Like I want, to see 100 countries or something like that, because that kind of sets it way up there. I mean, I like good work. God, I like that. Yeah.
And people have to understand too, it doesn't have to be anything ornate. It could be anything. I used to tell students, I was a teacher once upon a time. I used to say to my students, what do you want today? What do you want to achieve? And if it's to have a milkshake at dinner, then let it be that, and visualize it and see how you're going to make it happen, right? Because I was teaching them about goal setting. Set a goal and how are you going to get there? So it doesn't have to be big and ornate and 17 wives. It could be, I want to wake up tomorrow and be excited about my life.
Maybe that's the third step. Is our first step is to think what's brewing, like Polly said, kind of chill and hang out. Then we go into our crazy ass long-term goal. I want to own a whale when I'm 70. And then we bring it back to go, what do I want today? Because now your mind is thinking in that long-term goal. So now when you ask today, you're like, well, maybe I should learn how to feed a whale. And so maybe my goal for the day is how to feed the whale that I want in 50 years.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, does that sound like a good daily challenge, those 3 steps?
It does.
Yeah. And
All
doable.
right. All right. Well, I will be tagging you guys in that every day and challenging you. That is officially our daily challenge. I want to give you guys a huge ass thank you. What a great episode. We could have gone for 7 hours. I can already feel it. But thank you guys so much. We will be wrapping up this show. Huge shout out to our guests. That was a freaking awesome episode. Thank you guys for all watching. Make sure you follow, like, subscribe, and then make sure you go check out their Instagrams and their socials and follow, like, subscribe there, because that's how this world works and how we can keep bringing you awesome guests with free information for you to grow. If your spiritual health was a little off and you needed some goal setting, hopefully this episode helped you out a lot. Thank you all for watching, and that will be the end of our show.